Kingdom citizens, welcome back. It's Kingdom Ox on all social platforms and everything, man. We got somebody in here today that I have an intro for. I hope you like it. I have an intro for him. Today we have a king, a champion that
Wow.
loves to get stronger in his faith, that stays blessed and has a lot of vibes. His music sounds like 52 weeks of summer that will have the church girls love R&B, and now he's bringing a revival to our hearts. Kingdom citizens, give it up for the king of Christian R&B, Jor'Dan Armstrong.
What's up, man? I
How you
love
doing?
that. Dope intro. Dope intro. I heard
I
all the
know
metaphors. I heard all of the yeah, you killed it. You killed it.
you heard all the albums.
I did. I heard it all. I heard it all. Thank you so much for honoring me, man. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah, bro. Man, I just want to hear your story, bro. I really wanted to talk to you, man. I
Hmm.
I did a lot of um, going behind the scenes and knowing you for years, bro.
Yeah.
But I just want to talk about that your humble beginnings a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk about that, man. Growing up, how was it like growing up, being Jordan Armstrong in like Baton Rouge, Louisiana?
Yeah. Growing up as Jordan, man, was actually pretty cool. I was always the youngest of everyone. I'm an only child, but I had older cousins and uncles and aunts, and so I was always the kid with about a. I think the youngest person in my family was probably 8 years older than me. So
Gotcha.
I was always the little person, around all of these charismatic people, singers, musicians, all of these people in my family. So growing up, just watching that and experiencing that, I think just sparked something in me musically, of course, but also made me realize that, I was born into a musical family. So music is what I was going to do.
Dope.
It's just like
So
it was just obvious. Everybody's doing music. There's music constantly around me. I'm always at church, or we're always doing a rehearsal, or my cousin has a studio. We're always there, or he's putting music together. So music was just around me. I even did music at school, in elementary school. I was into music. So I always knew this would be the thing, but just being around people that were actually not just musicians, but like really talented at it. Like some of
mm,
the best people in the city were my cousins, or in my family.
wow.
So, I was
Wow.
around the best of the best at that time. And the experience there was amazing, man. Very musical. That's all I can say. When I think back about being a child, all I can think about is music. Everything from the way that my mom and I would ride in the car from pickups, when her picking me up from school, and we're in the car singing melodies. Just turn the radio off. My mom is just like, try this, and she'd sing a riff, and I would try to duplicate that or add a twist to that. And back then, those were just fun games to me. And now I think back, I'm like, wow, my mom was teaching me how to come up with melodies, and
Wow.
how to even songwrite. She forced me to write a song at times, and I was like, I'm not a writer like you. I can't do this. And she was like, you can do it. And so she kind of forced me into somewhere that I didn't want to go at the time, but now I'm so grateful that I went.
Yeah.
So just thinking back, man, it was just an awesome experience. And my mom did an amazing job of uh, keeping me from knowing that we were poor. We didn't
Hmm.
have much. I had no idea of that until I got older, that wow, we were poor. Like I'm like, wow, we were down bad.
Yeah.
And so, but music, I think, was a savior for her as well, and it became a savior for me as well.
Yeah.
Of course, God, Jesus, those
Yeah.
things, but that was like how we passed the time, doing music, something musically at all times. So
Got
yeah.
you. So when did that like when did you know, yes, this music is developing me in different things, but when did it go from development to like I want to do this professionally?
Oh man, so probably sang my first solo at church, I would say at about four years old.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it, of course. I didn't want to get up in front of everybody. Me and my mom would sing all the time at home or in the car or what have you. But, it was different, singing in front of all those people. I was like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. I ain't trying to do that now. So, I would go and she was like, well, on first Youth Sunday, you're going to have to sing a solo this time. And I was just like, oh my
Wow.
God. So I'm dreading that. I'm nervous. We're going over the song every single day. And I get up to sing it. And when I sang the song, it went over so well. After service, I was getting all kinds of love and candy and money, and people were giving me things. I was like, oh, I might be able to do this. So to be honest with you, it definitely started off very selfish.
Got
I
you.
knew I
Got
was
you.
doing it because I knew I would probably get some candy or some treats or a snack or something, or even money,
Yeah.
And so I actually started there. And I think that by the age of when I became a teenager, I had singing youth choir for so long. And I got to the age to where, this is the early 90s and mid 90s, and the music is changing. I'm getting
Mm.
older. My peers are listening to, Boyz II Men and Jodeci and No Limit Records and Cash Money.
Yeah.
I'm in Louisiana, so like the culture around me is changing. And so as I go to school, my friends are listening to this. My older cousins are listening to this stuff.
Yeah.
So I got to a phase to where the gospel choir and the gospel music wasn't really connecting with me anymore.
Wow.
So yeah, man. So I went through that phase of just like, wow, I really like the way this sounds. Listen to the chord structures that Devontae's doing on the Jodeci stuff, or listen to
Wow.
the chord changes or the drum patterns, or even the way that they wrote "Share My Love" by Mary J. Blige, produced by Rodney Jerkins. Like I'm really getting into the technical things of music, not
Wow.
just how good it sounds. So actually transitioning as a teenager from gospel choir music, from, Mississippi Mass to Hezekiah Walker, you name it, to these urban sounds, really intrigued me. I
Wow.
was like, wow, this is something I really love. I love the way this sounds. So now I start to find myself, not quote unquote sneaking off. I know we all had that story, you're not supposed to listen to this and your parents didn't know.
Yeah.
My mom kind of led me into it a little bit. She was very censored though, she made
Yeah.
sure this is this type of music. So that type, she would let me listen to Boys to Men, they were just talking about love and things of that
Yeah.
nature. And so I was kind of getting into it that way. And yeah, man, by the time I made it to the age of 18, I realized this is something that I want to do professionally.
Wow.
And so, I was done with school, and I told my mom I wanted to jump into it. And so, she got me a computer. At this time, this might be telling my age, but at this time it was a Dell computer. Dell computers were always advertised on TV.
Yeah.
Everybody had a Dell. You got to get a Dell. And so she bought me a Dell computer, and I started downloading production apps and different things at that time, man. And I really jumped into it, man. And I said I wanted to do it professionally, but we can say that, but I wasn't a professional. I just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this I'm a professional at this. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this as a profession. But I think it was up until 2008 is when I finally got serious about it, and I put a record out in 2009 that just kind of changed my life, and it was entitled Champion.
So when did you know that you wanted to produce as well? Because I mean, to do music is, of
Yeah,
course, songwriting, or sometimes people just like, hey, I just want to sing. When was
yeah,
what was that process of like, hey, I want to sing, write songs, and
man.
produce?
Well, it wasn't by choice. I couldn't find producers.
Wow.
Yeah, mostly all of the producers in my area or in my city, they were more on the traditional style. I
Yeah.
only knew gospel musicians, so they were playing gospel music. So it was a real chordy, a lot of great things, but just not the production style that I was hearing from Jodeci and Boyz II Men and hip hop and all of
Yeah.
those things. So, it was really hard. And the people that I did know of, I mean, they were just untouchable.
Wow.
I
Wow.
knew these producers, I knew of producers, but I mean, I couldn't call Rodney Jerkins up and work with him or work with these people. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
was just like really experimenting on my own. And so it actually kind of forced me into production. I had
Wow.
already been a producer like in high school. I was making rap tracks and stuff for people and selling them for $25 for a beat on a CD. And
Yeah.
that was kind of my thing. So I was very familiar with producing, but trying to create that production, that professional mainstream sound that I didn't even think I had the ability to do. I just started to work on it, and it got really good. And so I also at that time I met this guy Teddy P. We call him Teddy P now,
Yeah.
but Ted and I were growing up in the same church, and he could play better than me. He just couldn't produce. He was just a
Yeah.
really good musician, and so I was like, well, I can't play that well, but I know how to produce. And he
Yeah.
can't produce that well, but he knows how to play. So I was like, we
Yeah.
should get together and put some things together. So basically, I was just telling him what was in my mind that I could not play. I was just like, hey,
Yeah.
how about a chord that goes to this, that feels like that? And then he'll just start playing. I'm like, that's it. And so then he plays the chords, and then I go and get the drum track together, and boom, now we have a track. And then I start hearing melodies, which I go back to me and my mom playing around singing forever, and now we have melodies, and then a song develops, and
Got
that's
you.
literally how I got to finish up that first project called Champion.
How can you tell somebody out there the difference between knowing how to play and producing?
Yeah, well, knowing how to play it is great. First of all, if you know how to play
Yeah.
an instrument and you do it well, I mean, that's a God-given talent, I would say. But the difference in just playing and producing is taste.
Okay.
Sometimes, just because we can do it doesn't mean that we should,
Yeah.
or it doesn't mean that we should always do it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I shouldn't always, every time I get the ball, I dunk. You know what I'm saying? Like eventually somebody's gonna like, oh, he's gonna dunk. And so I'm gonna
Yeah.
block it. Like it's just yeah, so it's just like, having taste,
Yeah.
knowing when to go all out, knowing when to play in the pocket. And if you don't know what the pocket is, it's just to play digestible chords or play digestible music to where anybody who doesn't even know how to produce music or make music, they can digest what you're saying, what you're giving
Yeah.
them. Sometimes I'm a musician, so sometimes I'm listening to something and I think it's so amazing, and I let my wife hear it, and she's like, "That just sounds like a bunch of stuff." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Well, see, you're not a musician. He just did the G minor chord with the something chord and the this chord. In my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I'm blown away." And so, to
Yeah.
a person that isn't into that, they're like, "It's too much." And
Yeah.
so, most of the consumers or most of the people that are going to listen to your music aren't you. They
Got
are
you.
not musicians. They don't know music in that way. They just like what they hear.
Yeah.
So, that's the difference, I think, of being a musician and also being a producer, is having taste and just knowing what will work for everybody.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Got you. Talk about Champion, man. Talk about that project and like the songs off that project. What made you go in that direction of saying like, man, I need to create R&B, and not even like,
Yeah.
because at that time, I mean, we had like the whole urban gospel
We
sound and
did. We did.
different things of that nature. But as I went back and listened to it, I was
Mhm.
like, this is like really like I could put a Trey Songz record on, a Chris Brown record, and I could put on Drive Me Crazy, and nobody
That's
could be
true.
like, that's different than the rest of
That's
that. You
true.
know what I'm saying?
That's
So
true.
what was your thought process about that with Champion?
My thought process with Champion was honestly, and if you listen to that album, it overall it is kind of like a Christian R&B type of vibe, but
Yeah.
that was really just me creating every sound that I liked at the time.
Got you.
You know, like I was really into pop music at the time. I was really into hip hop music at the time. I was into R&B at the time. I mean, I was into a little bit of everything. And so,
Yeah.
you know, I just tried to make an album that I would like, and I wanted to make something that I felt everyone would at least find one record on here.
Got
You
you.
know, like it
Got
doesn't
you.
matter who you are. Like there's gonna be one song on here that at least you would like. You know, and so I wanted to make a project for everybody. I knew that my grandmother would listen. I knew that my uncles would listen. I knew that young people would listen. I knew that people, my peers at the time would listen. So, you know, I wanted something for everybody. And I'm so grateful that I kind of went into it thinking like that, because that kind of set the foundation of who I became as an artist.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to make music for everybody. And which also goes into that whole phase of me saying that, you know, the youth choir's music and the music I was hearing at church wasn't connecting with me anymore. You
Yeah.
know, it was, and I was just like, man, I still love God. So I need to, let's create some music that connects with me where I am now in life. And it
Yeah.
still references who Jesus is. And so, you know, that's really what I did. If I was a listener, I would want to listen to this. You
Got
know,
you.
that was my mindset. It's like, okay, if I wasn't me, what would I want to hear as a young Christian? I
Yeah.
want to hear something like this. And
Yeah.
so I created that. And you know, it went over really well, man. And you know, I
Wow.
was really grateful because I saw the response. This is all new. This is new to, you know, online, and
Yeah.
all of this
Yeah.
stuff is brand new around this time. So I'm seeing responses and people loving the music all the way in Hong Kong, you know, from London
Wow.
to Hong Kong to Africa. And, you know, people are sending me messages and sending emails, you know. And so I saw the response not only just in my neighborhood or in my city, you know, I started to see it worldwide. And
Mm.
then, you know, there's YouTube, and then YouTube is out now. And that's when the tables kind of turn.
Yeah.
It turned, because now I'm getting all kinds of things now. Now the response is mixed, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because now I'm getting people that are just like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, is this is the devil? You know, I was getting, yeah, man, I was getting a lot of different mixed reviews. And you know,
Wow.
that's when things started to change for me for a minute. I must say,
Got
just to
you.
be honest.
Got you. What was the photo shoot about Champion? Because it's so fly. It's like a
Ah,
fly, like it's like Jordan in the waves and he
yeah,
just
yeah,
chilling.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
was that for? What was that like shoot
Honestly,
about?
it was just a fly pick, man. Honestly, no, I don't even have an answer to that. I was like, oh, this looks cool. And I also knew that a lot of my favorite albums, or the biggest albums, people were sitting on the floor. They sit on the floor. I said, I need to sit on the floor. Michael Jackson sat on the floor. Teddy P sat on the floor. Teddy Pendergrass, excuse me. Teddy Pendergrass sat on the floor. All these greats sat on the floor. Jay Moss was in it. Jay Moss was on the floor in a little window thing with his arm on the floor. He's sitting. I said, I got to sit on the floor. And so I definitely sat on the floor. And the
Yeah.
team at the time, they was like, oh, this is a dope picture. I was like, that looks like an album cover. And we didn't even care if it matched the sound of the album or anything. We just like, well, this is a really dope pick. Let's do it. Let's do it,
Yeah.
man.
But it
Yeah.
did
So
match
thank
though.
you,
The,
though.
the, you know,
It
the
ended up,
match.
yeah.
It did. It did. The look of it. It looked
Hey,
R&B. It didn't look
hey,
like
man.
your traditional gospel or even
Yes,
contemporary gospel. It looked like
absolutely.
an
I
R&B
showed it
album.
to I showed it to my grandfather, who God rest his soul now, but he was a pastor. He was pastoring 3 churches at that time.
Wow.
He saw that album cover and he said, "Oh no, that don't look like a gospel album cover." He was like, "I don't know what this is." He's like, "Don't even play it for me. I don't even want to hear it." I said, "Oh my God." That's how I knew I was on the right track.
That's funny. So
Yeah, man.
going from that album in the in between time before you get to Stronger, what was the process like after that? Because now you're like, I'm getting responses from
Yeah,
the church that's saying, yo, this is demonic or
yeah,
it's not of God. And I'm getting people from around the world going,
yeah,
yo, I can feel Jesus in this. Like, so
yeah.
what was your in between time from that to Stronger?
in between time, first of all, too, Champion came out in 2009 and
Okay.
Stronger came out in 2012.
Yeah.
So, we're at 9, 10, 11, 12. We're 4 years. And 4 years in, the first 2 years, I mean, I spent trying to let the world know about Champion.
Gotcha.
I traveled, I was getting bookings. I was able to move out of my hometown, which was a blessing for me because um, I had seen so many others in my city that I looked up to stay there,
Gotcha.
that could have gone further,
Yeah.
and so these guys I mean, are great and still great. A lot of them are still there and still amazing musicians and artists, but they never left. And so honestly, I would ask them. I would set up meetings with like my mentors and people that I looked
Wow.
up to in the city, and I was like, "Why didn't you leave? Like, what's up?" A
Mm.
lot of times they were giving me all kind of answers, family or fear or just unable to do it at the time. And so it's crazy because every last one of them that I spoke with was like, "Listen, man, you need to get out of here.
Wow.
You need to go." They were just like, "Bro, you have it. If I was you, if I had a second chance, I would be out of here." And
Wow.
so, that was very inspiring to me too. And also my mom, I'm an only child. So, and my mom is a single mother. So, one of my biggest things was to not leave my mom,
Wow.
and
Wow.
so when I spoke to her about it after I met with all of those mentors and all those people, she said the same thing. She said, "Baby, you gotta go." She was like, "You should get out of here."
Wow.
She's like, "You don't have any kids, you don't have anything holding you back, no kids, no wife, anything." She was like, "Go and get it." And when my mom told me that, I mean, in those years from 2009 till about 2011, I figured it out, man, and I got up out of the city and I
Yeah.
went to Atlanta, here where I am now, and I came here to work with this label called Atlantic Records. Yeah, I was
Okay.
working with Atlantic Records, and the way that I was able to even work with Atlantic is because I was working with this company in my hometown called Trill Entertainment, which was a record label that housed Lil Boosie and
Okay.
Webby at the time. And so I grew up with Webby and I grew up with those guys. So I was doing music for them as well,
Oh,
locally in the
wow.
city. And so when they got their major deal, they blew up. They got a major deal with Atlantic Records. One of the executives at the label asked me if I wanted to work with Atlantic, and I said yes. So I said absolutely,
Yeah.
and so I came to Atlanta for a meeting. She was like, "I'll set up a meeting for you." Set up a meeting, and next thing I know, we're working with artists, me, Teddy P, and another friend of ours. His name is Franchise Teeth, and
Wow.
we started working. And then next thing we know, we're moving to Atlanta.
Wow.
Especially once I got the okay from moms, that was the
Yeah.
biggest one.
Yeah.
And we moved to Atlanta. And 2011 to 2012, I started working on Stronger.
Wow.
I was really excited to get back into music for myself because I've been doing music for others and writing for R&B artists and different things of that nature. And I just felt the void, man. I was just like, bro, I know what my calling is. Like, come
Wow.
on, And so I
Yeah.
got back into my stuff, and 2012 we released Stronger.
Wow. Was at that time like did Bootsy and Webby and all them know about like Champion or
They
the music
did,
that you was
they
what was their
did.
thoughts about that?
Well, that's what was so great about Champion is that when I would let my peers, and my peers at the time was street dudes, I lived
Wow.
in the ghetto, so everybody knew me from a kid all the way up through high school, and they always thought that I was cool, but they also knew that I was a church boy.
Yeah,
So
gotcha.
I think
Gotcha.
it's very rare to find a cool church boy in the neighborhoods. Most time, if you're church boy, you're lame to everybody, But I was blessed and I was fortunate enough to still be able to connect with people in the streets and also, be a light. And
Yeah.
no pun intended to now, but
Yeah.
I was always that person. And sometimes back then, I didn't even understand. I was like, why do they want to be around me? They wanted to hang around me.
Oh,
Sometimes
wow.
they will pull me to the side, like, bro, pray for me, man. I'll pray for my grandmother. Pray
Yeah.
for me with this or that, or I'm going to the club tonight, pray for me. Or sometimes I would be out with these guys, honestly, in high school, and they would also look out for me. You know, they would be like, hey man, you
Wow.
might want to leave because we're about to go do this. Like
Wow.
basically a crime. You know, and so I would be like, thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know that. I'm out of here. You know, so
Yeah.
I had a good relationship with them. And honestly, still to this day, I have that same type of connection with, you know, the streets. You know, I'm
Yeah.
still able to connect with them because I'm from it too. I just
Yeah.
happen to be, you know, the son of a preacher man, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
so that changed everything for me. But no, those guys loved it, man. They were crying. They would hear the song, they was just
Wow.
like, bro, there's no way, bro. How are you saying this like that? Like what? And at the time, they had never heard of anything like that. But mind you,
Yeah.
I knew people, I knew Kenton Jones, you know,
Yeah.
I knew what Mary was doing. But
Yeah.
these guys, the first time they were even introduced to an urban gospel sound like that, or urban sound with the message of Jesus, was through me.
Yeah.
So, you know, it changed a lot of things, but that was also confirmation that I knew that God was sending me somewhere, and that was my audience, those
Got you.
people.
Do you ever feel like, man, my heart is like I want to reach everybody with my music, but
Yeah.
even just that pull of not the pull, but just like the
Mhm.
critiques of the church
Yeah.
versus like when you see it changing somebody's life, like do you feel like, man, why don't they get it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why don't they?
Yeah. I really used to feel that way in the early days of it,
Got you.
for
Got
sure.
you.
But man, I was getting so much love for what was happening. Every
Got
time I
you.
would perform, I mean, I know that there was criticism, you know, like I said, on social media at that time, which was just YouTube at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That was the only place to really give it. Now you
Yeah.
can give it everywhere. Everybody was negative somewhere. But at that time, you know, I just knew that God had called me to do this, you know,
Got
and
you. Got
every
you.
day I was getting confirmation from the people that I made the music for. You know,
Got
I
you.
was meeting people on the streets, or I was getting love from them, and I knew it was for them. You know, I know how to sing. You know, I could sing. I
Yeah.
could have done a gospel album. You know, I grew up singing in church my entire life. You know,
Yeah.
leading solos and even opening up and performing for opening for every major act that came to the city. I was that guy, but you know,
Wow.
that just wasn't my calling. My calling was for the sound that I have now, you know, the people that God has given me to reach, and it was not the people at church. So
Got
when I
you.
was getting that from the people at church, it bothered me a little, but you know, the the confirmation and the word that God had given me was stronger. It really
Got you.
was, and
Got you.
that's how we even got the title
Yeah.
to the project.
Got
You
you.
know, I felt stronger. I felt like, yes,
Yeah. Wait. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Say it again. Let's see. Go ahead. Say it again, Jordan. Yeah.
you there?
Yeah. And for a
Okay,
minute,
okay, sorry.
it cut out. Can you say what you said for the a few minutes ago? Because it cut
Yeah,
out right there. Yeah.
yeah. But no, that's actually where I got the title for Stronger.
Okay.
Because I felt stronger. I finally realized what my calling was. Like it took the timing from 2009 to 2012 for me to really, really know what my calling was, and also to really walk in it and be strong in it, you know. And so
Yeah.
that's how I knew. That's the moment I knew what it was about, all about, man. And
Got
from
you.
Stronger on, I've been this guy.
Got you.
Yeah.
Stronger. That's one of my favorite projects from you. Like
Thank you so
I
much.
think I think because I like dance and I like pop music and I like
Yeah.
different things of that. And like at the time, that's when everybody was in that EDM phase in
Oh
mainstream.
yeah.
Like
Oh
all the
yeah.
R&B acts was you had the Chris
Yes.
Brown doing his thing, of
Yes.
course, Usher and everybody
Yep.
doing like those R&B pop
Yeah.
EDM records, and
Yeah.
it fit right in, man. And I was just
Thank you.
like, man, I love that record. One of my favorite records is "I'm Down Too," so
Oh
I
yeah.
love
Oh
that
yeah.
record.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you, man.
but I think that like I feel like God has you. for every moment. Like I feel like
Yeah.
God is always like, I got Jordan for every moment
Wow.
for like to reach those people that like
Yeah.
this style of music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think so too. I think that, this is not think, I know that this is my calling.
Yeah,
This is what I'm here for. I'm here to, at every part of our lives and the way that the world is moving, as long as I'm here, God has given me a voice
yeah,
to speak to a certain people. And
yeah.
so, even from the early 2000s to the mid 2000s to the 2010s, and here we are again in the 2020s,
Yeah,
and God just keeps giving me something to say to his people. And I'm grateful to be used. I'm honored
yeah,
to be used. And it's actually now, it's not just my lifestyle, but it's fun. I enjoy
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I enjoy it, man. I love where the music is now, and I love how now, the generations that were born probably on my third, fourth album, they're out right now. I
Yeah,
love that these kids, and I call them kids, but that's no disrespect, man. But
yeah,
I love that the kids now are just able to do it.
yeah,
We used to go through so much to put a project out, or to be different. It was just so much ridicule. And
yeah,
now it's okay. Now
yeah,
it's okay to be a Christian R&B artist. We didn't have a name for it at the time.
yeah,
We were just it was all kinds of stuff, rhythm and praise, and
yeah,
Christian. It was just all kind of stuff,
yeah,
gospel
yeah,
R&B. It was just, I
yeah,
mean, and so we didn't really know what it was called, but the message and the feeling of it was there. And so I'm just grateful to still be able to do this.
yeah.
And I'm grateful for all of the knowledge and the things that I've learned. Now I feel like I'm at my, what we call 10,000 hours. I
Got
know
you. Yeah,
exactly what I want to do. I know exactly how to do what God has given me to do. And, it's dope to be here this long, really.
got you.
Because, yeah.
Was what was the impact for Stronger? Like, was Stronger very well received, or was it just
Oh,
like
yeah.
Champion?
Stronger was cool because now we were better too. Me and my
Got you.
team, Teddy and I were better producers. Now Teddy's producing whole tracks by himself, and now I'm
Got you.
producing full songs by myself. And so
Yeah.
now him and I was kind of having a battle for my album. Now he's like, well, I got one. I'm like, well, I got two. He's like, well, I got three. And then boom, we put them together. And I'm like, ooh, that's a good one right there, man.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I can sing that. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
then I would play one and he's like, ooh, that's crazy. And so we had a really good time creating that album because too, we were also out of Louisiana. We're in Atlanta. The space is different. At that time we were doing pretty decent. So we had a really nice crib we had, man, that we were renting. And the skyline in Atlanta is amazing. Just the feel and the vibe and the air in Atlanta just gave us something else
Yeah.
than us in Louisiana and in the shed behind the house,
Yeah.
back there bumping on busted speakers, you
Yeah.
know. And so now we feel a little bit more successful. We feel better. We're older. We're wiser, and we're a little bit better at producing and writing songs. So the response was definitely great, man. People really, really loved it. And that was almost like the first album to a lot of people.
Oh
A lot of
wow.
people didn't even know about Champion. A lot of people's the first album to them is Stronger. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. That's crazy,
yeah.
man.
Hmm.
So going from Stronger to 52 weeks of summer, what
Yeah.
was that? What was that? What was that situation like? Like, what was that?
Yeah, so Stronger 2012, and mind you, another 3 years passed. 2015 is now
Yeah.
52 weeks of summer. Stronger was cool because, like I said, I worked it pretty good for about 2 years. And
Hmm.
on the third year, I realized it was time to get back into some more music.
Yeah.
And so it was really crazy because around this time, now we're in Atlanta still, and I have so many, like my crew got bigger. I have
Oh
more
wow.
friends with,
Yeah.
I linked up with this guy named Uncle Reese at that time who was really inspiring to me because he was almost like a, 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 a renaissance. Like he just knew the words so well. He had
Yeah.
this thing to where he can talk to you, and next thing you know, you want to follow what he's saying. Like he just had a he was really strong, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, musically, I think he did well as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't always my favorite type of sounds, but the messaging and the way that Reese would just literally wave a banner and everybody's like, we want to follow you. He had that.
Wow.
He
Yeah.
had it. And so, you know, we all became cool. We had a clique, man. It was probably about 10 to 15 of us that would hang out every week, talk about God, make music, go out and reach people. You know, Reese was one of the first people too I ever did like street ministry with. Like,
Oh,
and I'm
wow.
not talking
Wow.
about just at church, like the
Yeah.
church street ministry, but I'm talking about like just us, like, let's wake up Saturday morning, go to the mall, and let's try to get 10 people saved. Like
Wow.
he was like that. And I've never experienced that because I grew up in church. I mean, I seen
Yeah.
that kind of stuff all the time. So that was normal to me, but he would just do it regularly. Like this was his goal to get this amount of souls this week. And I had
Yeah.
never been around someone like that that was my age, you know.
Wow.
And so it was very inspiring. So anyway, we're always hanging out, all of us, and we kind of became a clique, man. And we started having these gatherings where we were having like basically Christian gatherings, Christian parties. We hanging out, we having a good time, and the music, it was hard to find music again. And I was just like, where's the Christian party music? I was like, and we would talk about this. We were like, yo, where's the music to like not just the and no, I love Kirk Franklin. He's
Yeah.
one of the goats, man, you know, but you know, where's the other stuff? Like where's the stuff that feels like the playlist that we're playing that's not Christian music? Like we're
Yeah.
playing Chris Brown, we're playing Tyga, we're playing, you know, Mustard, we're playing all of these people, we're playing Jay-Z. Like, where's the Christian playlist?
Yeah.
And mind you, playlists weren't out. They didn't have Christian playlists at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just like, man, I should make that. And they were like, Jay, if you make that, that's gonna go crazy. I was like, I think so too. And I said, I think it's a lot of people that are in this same predicament that we're in, where they don't know what to play when
Yeah.
they have these type of settings.
Yeah.
And they're only able to play the R&B, the hip hop stuff because
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. And it matches the
The
environment we're in.
vibe.
Like
Yeah.
it feels like
Yeah.
what we're doing. We're partying, we're having a good time. But we
Yeah.
love God. So it's just like, what do we do? And so that sparked something in me. And I started to create 52 Weeks of Summer. I just wanted every record to feel like you could dance. I wanted every
Wow.
record to feel like we're outside by the pool, you know, and hanging out with friends. And I wanted every song at some moment to feel like the top was down and we're riding down Sunset, or the top was down and we're in Miami. Like what feels like that, but still references the goodness of God. And
Yeah.
I started with the tracks. At this time now, everybody's busy. Teddy P's so busy, man. He's popular. I can't get Teddy P in the studio. Yeah, man. I'm working on this project by myself, so I literally just created all of the tracks first.
Wow.
Um, I just spent about a month just tracking. I probably did about 50 tracks and ended
Wow.
up only keeping about 16 of those
Yeah.
for the project. But I just picked the best that I felt good about, and I put something to them. And to be honest with you, once I was done with producing the tracks, the writing of the songs were so easy because
Wow.
I didn't write. Every
Yeah.
song was just coming out literally. And I don't know if you could tell, I'm probably giving it away now, but every song just feels like the same recording
Wow.
session. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
every song. It's because I did them all in a week. I did all of
Wow.
those songs in a week. I would wake up and I did a song. I would eat. Some my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, she would make me eat because when I'm working, I'm not even hungry. I forget to eat.
Oh,
So
wow.
I would eat, and then I would go back and do another song. And so I was really almost doing 2 songs a day
Wow.
because they were just flowing, and I was just asking God to give me the records, and He
Yeah.
was doing it, man. And so when I was done, and I finally got a hold of Teddy P, he was like, "Man, when you want to get started?" I was like, "Oh, I'm already done. I'm done." He was like, what? He was like, oh no, I gotta get something on here. So Teddy P came with this one track called oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. It's got this sample in it. It's the only song on the project that I'm talking and I gave a testimony. Came Up. I'm sorry.
Came
Came
up.
Up.
Okay.
Came Up.
Okay.
That's Teddy P's production, and of course there's my story, but Teddy P's production, and the About That was
Yeah.
Teddy P's production as well. And that's when I just got everybody on there. Reese at the time, Izzy was on it, Adrian Butler, all of these guys, man. And the crazy part is a lot of these guys that was in our clique at the time, like Jonathan Traylor, um, 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 well, so many people, dog. It's so many
Yeah.
people now that are artists now that are solo artists that, we all just kind of came up together,
Wow.
just trying to, change the game and, get people saved and introduce them to
Yeah.
Christ. And these are the people that heard that album first. And when we started playing it at our gatherings, I was like, oh yeah, we got it, man. And we put it out. And obviously, from the response, people were having parties to this music. And I
Yeah.
was so honored that people were having parties to music with such positivity,
Yeah.
with the lyrics, with what I was
Yeah.
saying. And they were vibing to it and they were able to turn up and have a good time in Jesus' name. And
Yeah.
that's what it was all about. That was the whole intention of it. And it did just that.
What was the feedback from like your professional side, the gospel side, and stuff like that?
Oh,
Okay.
they loved it. Now
Oh,
that was the first time the gospel world loved my music.
God.
I remember I got some posts now, Instagram is out and things of that nature now. So this is 2015, 2016. And so
Yeah.
I remember Dietrich Hatton was like, I don't know who this guy is, but this is awesome.
Yeah.
And Erica Campbell, Tina
Yeah.
Campbell, these ladies, these are people that I looked up to that are
Yeah.
posting it. And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know who this kid is, but I love this. Me and my family, we played this at the barbecue, and so that's how I knew that the gospel music had finally kind of accepted what I was doing.
Was that the first time you got on a radio where like you should know?
That is. Actually, it
Wow.
was the second time. First time on
Okay.
my music, but the first time was Reese.
Gotcha. Oh yeah. Can't help
Uncle
but wait.
Reese. Yeah,
Yeah.
can't help myself.
Can't help myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
no, it's cool. So Can't Help Myself was definitely the first time on radio. He had already had radio success with
Yeah.
Till I Pass Out.
Yeah.
And he needed a follow-up song. And so I had that song, Can't Help Myself, for myself.
Yeah.
And he came by and he heard it, him and his manager at the time, Focus Tario, who is
Yeah.
now my manager.
Yeah.
But
Shout out to him.
Tario heard it and he was like, bro, that sounds like our second single. Reese was like, I love that song. And
Yeah.
so basically they took the verses off, left me on the hook. I have verses for it.
Okay.
And Reese did the verses, his rap verses to it, and we went to radio with it, and it had a great success there. So that was my first introduction because it said featuring Jor'Dan Armstrong. And to be honest with you, I knew that I couldn't get it on the radio.
Oh
I knew
wow.
that Reese already had radio success. I had
Yeah.
never been on the radio, and
Yeah.
so shout out to him. They left me on there and used the record. And that was also the first time I started getting publishing checks. I never was getting publishing checks from gospel music. I was getting it from the R&B side, but never
Yeah.
for gospel. And so,
Yeah.
that's when I realized not just the power of radio, but also the power of giving up something.
Wow. Wow.
I
Yeah.
had that song for 2 years on my hard drive, you know,
Wow.
and I was able to humble myself and give the record to someone that I knew that could take it somewhere that I couldn't. And
Wow.
so he did just that, man. And honestly, that was my introduction to radio. And after that, man, I used some of those same connections. People love that song. And so when we created 52 Weeks of Summer, we came up with a record to send to radio, which is called You Should Know.
Yeah.
And it just really matched the sound of that time.
Yeah.
was just not on gospel
Yeah.
radio. And so
Yeah.
I think it was cool because it was a song that felt like hip hop and R&B, but it was talking about God. And I think that's what really cut through to have them play it on radio. Now,
Yeah.
everybody didn't play it. Shout out to Atlanta, all of my people here in Atlanta, man. Atlanta for the gospel scene or Christian hip hop scene is kind of trendsetters.
Yeah.
So, if they play it, if it's cool to Atlanta, then, a few other stations may pick it up too. They see that Atlanta's playing it. But Atlanta really broke the record for me and also really helped launch my career. So shout out to Radio One because those people up there, Derek Harper. This is also the beginning of Willie Moore Jr. and Dwight
Yeah.
Stone, all
Yeah.
these guys who
Yeah.
knew about me, but they had the position at radio and they were the first ones to kind of just take a stab at playing my songs.
Yeah.
So those guys really helped open the door for me at radio for sure. But yeah, 52 Weeks of Summer is 2015 and You Should Know is what got me on the radio.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing, man. That's amazing,
Yeah.
bro. Do you
Let me say this too. I had a little bit of an issue with that record, You Should Know, because I had a line in there, and this is when I really knew, okay, now I can't play around. People are starting to really get to know my music and know who I
desire
am.
is the
Yes. Yes. Next thing I know, I'm getting emails from management. People are hitting us up about that line.
Wow.
And they wanted to get paid. They're like, either you're gonna pay us or take it off. So, so we had to go through a situation with that. And basically, the lady who owns it, I actually thought it was Kirk Franklin, so I was just like, oh, Kirk, I'd made Kirk mad. I don't want to do that. This is Kirk Franklin. I want to work with him. You know what I'm saying? So come to find out, it was another lady that owned the record.
Oh, wow.
And so it was really her. And so I got a chance to talk with her and she was just like, you don't have to pay, just give me the publishing for it and we'll just kind of work it out like that. But that also made me realize that, I was really growing as an artist and people were really listening, that it made it all the way to her.
Yeah.
Because I had sampled songs and said stuff, it's Christian music. I mean, sometimes we'll take stuff from an R&B song and put it in our song or whatever. And it's nothing, and that's when I realized that, you're really becoming known and this is you're professional. People are listening and the power of radio, everybody can hear it. So, you can't do that. So I definitely stopped the sampling stuff when it came to that for sure. So shout out to her. And I saw Kirk Franklin and I told him about it and he was like, nah, man, that wasn't me. I was like, okay, cool. He was like, no, I love the song. He was like, and I heard the song too. And I thought it was dope. He was like, but that wasn't me. He said, I would have let it slide. He was like, but nah, man. Let's definitely work in the future. And that actually helped start the relationship with Kirk and I for sure.
Dope, man.
Yeah.
Are we ever gonna get that? Like,
hey man, stay tuned, man. If anything, we're the closest we've ever been.
That's got you. I mean, I know I'm jumping ahead. Like, I can hear him on a remix song on Revival. I can hear him on a remix.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I sure do. And we'll get to that. I like this journey you're going down though. So you in 2 weeks.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to move it up. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you said we were listening to the. So vibes, man. Let's talk about vibes. What was the idea of vibes? Because now I remember vibes have the Afrobeat sound, has more of the of today. You always like, yo, I gotta match the sound of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean that even goes back to like David in the Bible when you read the Psalms and it says match to such and such. You know what I mean? Like that was the sound of the day.
That's important, man. You know, a lot of times, we have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
You know, this is where they are. Jesus did that. Jesus didn't just hang out at the church and wait for people to show up at church. He went to where they were. He went to the wedding. You know, he was at the wedding. He turned the water to wine. He didn't have to do that. He could have just said, everybody, no, drink water in here. Wine, no. You know, he could have turned up. You know what I'm saying? But he met people where they were because honestly, that miracle made people pay more attention to him and his power and who he was. You know, and so sometimes God can use those type of situations and, really connect with people. So anyway, that was the sound, man. That was the sound of that time. And again, I was like, where's the Christian version of that? I'm
Yeah.
always looking out for us. People, they don't look out for us, man. We don't have anything like what
Yeah.
is the young Christian supposed to look like? I love now. I mean, not look like, but listen to. But also
Yeah.
now, I love too. Now people are thinking about what does a young Christian look like?
Yeah.
Now we see more
Yeah.
brands too. We see more Jesus this on the shirt and
Yeah.
God is that. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it because times are changing. The way a Christian looks, what a Christian listens to, the sounds that Christians love to hear now is changing. And
Yeah.
we have to change at the time. And a lot of times, the church really, looks down on that,
Yeah.
and I get this is what the word says, and that is what the word says. But churches change too.
Yeah.
Now churches have
Yeah.
screens and lights
Yeah.
and smoke, all of the stuff that they used to tell us not to go see at the concert. Because you have to change with the times. You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
I can't be
Presentations
around here
matter.
still with sideburns and afro. That's just not the time. I can't, I would look crazy with a Jerry curl. I just would. So we have to change. And I think that we have to evolve. And, at that time, that was the sound, that was the
Yeah.
feeling, that was the vibe,
Yeah.
and so I was like, where's that for us? And
Yeah.
so I definitely put that together. That one was smaller. I think that project only has like 8 tracks on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was cool too, because I was able to produce that really fast.
Yeah.
When God was giving it to me, I was able to just put a song down, and
Wow.
it was a beautiful thing. I didn't know exactly what to call it. I was just like, it just feels like such good vibes. And
Yeah.
Tario, my manager at the time, he was like, vibes. I said, oh my God, that's it, vibes. And so we were like, so what does that look like though? I was like,
Yeah.
what if we did like, and I was a big guy with reading magazines and things of that
Yeah.
nature. And I was like, what if we did it like the Vibe magazine cover?
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
we literally took the Vibe font from Vibe magazine, which thank God they ain't come after me. See, I thought I learned my lesson. But Vibe
It's an album
magazine,
cover. It's an album
I know,
cover.
I know. Yeah, they just sued Drake a whole bunch of money for doing. He did it for another magazine too. But anyway, yeah, that's how we came up with Vibes, and the album
Yeah.
cover for that was basically, my cover of Vibe magazine, and
Got you.
of course that went over really well too because
Yeah.
there wasn't any Christian version of Afro beats like that
Yeah.
at the time,
Yeah.
and so it worked, man. It worked,
Yeah.
and for about a year and a half, 2 years, I was an Afrobeat artist, man. I was,
Wow.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and I loved it. I enjoyed it, man. I had a
Well,
blast.
what's so funny now is Christian Afro
Yeah,
beats,
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, it wasn't a lot
yeah,
of people back then
yeah,
doing that.
yeah.
So man, you a trailblazer, bro.
Hey, listen, I see that, and I first of all, I honor that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And when people are
Yeah.
calling me this and the goat of that and the king of that, it really is honoring. It really
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
at those times, bro, I was just trying to give us something.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even thinking about, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the first one to do this. I wasn't on my
Yeah.
Soldier Boy, you know. I'm the first rapper to do this, or the first. I wasn't thinking of none of that. I was just like, what do we need? What do we
Yeah.
have? You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
didn't have it. We
Yeah.
did not have it. And so, I was just around people in the streets that was just like, when the moment they hear the word gospel or hear that you're a gospel artist, they already think they know what that is. So they're not
Got
listening.
you.
They don't even give it a listen.
Got you.
And so I wanted to change that. And so every project, every album, every
Yeah.
moment, or every season that the world was in musically, I wanted to give us something for that.
Got you. Got you. That makes sense. But then also like going to Bless, it felt like Bless was more like, let me
Mhm.
start rapping a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Let me, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
like, what made you start
Yeah,
rapping a little
that's a
bit?
little bit of my rap. Yeah. I think Atlanta started getting to me, man. And nah, I'm just kidding. But no, that's just kind of where I was too.
Yeah.
I was listening to the streets. The streets was
Got you.
talking, and honestly, the way that they were listening to artists was a little bit in more of the rap field. It
Yeah.
wasn't, nobody wanted to be sang to at that time,
Got you.
so the way that people were receiving messages, it was with a little with more of a twist of hip hop.
Yeah.
So that's honestly my most hip hop album to me. Somebody might say different, but also that album, BLSD, Blessed, was the album I felt that showed my growth from a kid in this to a young adult in this.
Wow. Wow.
I even have skits on there with my mom. I had my mom come in and record some stuff, and we reenacted some moments that we even had in the household,
Wow.
just how I grew up,
Yeah.
And so that album definitely was a bit more about my upbringing. I
Yeah.
wanted to feel like how I felt as a kid, warm and just loved. And so
Yeah.
that's where that project came from. But even some of the rap songs on there, like this one record I got, Hot Boy with 1K Few and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Hot Boy. I'm from Louisiana, so we
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
call ourselves Hot Boys. So
Yeah.
he always thought it was weird too, because he was like, man, he was like, that's crazy. He's like, bro, this song is fire. He was like, you got an Atlanta dude on a Hot Boy song on a Louisiana beat. I said, hey man, hey, it is what it is, bro. You so good. I
Yeah.
gotta have you on here.
Yeah.
And so what's crazy is that Hot Boy record, I also had Juvenile on that song.
Oh wow.
I did. I had Juvenile to
Wow.
talk at the end, and at the last minute he pulled on it. He
Oh
pulled on it, man,
wow.
and I wasn't able to get him to send the final files on it. And I just did the ending. I
Got
did the
you.
ending. And so I did
Got
my
you.
talk like Juvenile. I was like, you mad, huh? You got a lot on your mind, huh? The devil tried to play you, huh? Yeah, so that
Trying
was
to get you
me.
one.
Yeah, he trying to get you one, huh? Yeah, so the devil getting on your nerves, huh? Yeah, so that was my version of Juvenile, which I
Yeah.
thought was going to be just a big breakout record. And
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff too, man, that God was giving me, you know, or even some of the ideas that I had
Yeah.
myself, I think sometimes they were a bit premature.
Got you.
A lot
Got
of
you.
the visions that I had was just bigger than me.
Got
You
you.
know what I mean? At the
Yeah.
time, it's just like, man, that would be so dope now.
Yeah.
If I could get Juvie on the song, or that would be so
Yeah.
dope now if I could do some of these elaborate things that my mind was thinking at those times. But God had a plan, man. It was always in His time, and so. But yeah, man, that was probably my most rap album to me. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right. BLSD.
Was it a reason why you broke them up? Like it was almost like EP, then
Yeah,
project.
it was. To gain awareness.
Got you.
Everybody was dropping albums. I was like, what could we do as a twist? And to be honest with you, it was a full album, of course, but nobody knew that. They thought I was just dropping so quickly. I
Yeah.
also at that time realized, the importance of algorithm. At that
Got
time, it
you.
was new.
Got
Now
you.
everybody says algorithm, but
Yeah.
at that time I knew that dropping something back to back to back like that, almost like in a surprise, would
Yeah.
stir up some things. I saw Beyonce do it. I saw uh, Lil Wayne would do stuff like that, just
Yeah.
spontaneously, like at midnight,
Yeah.
it's an album. Wait,
Yeah.
what? Oh
Yeah.
my God, we would
Yeah.
lose our
Yeah.
mind,
Yeah.
and so that was the effect that I wanted, like I said, for us,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
excitement for us, man. Like we
Yeah.
have that, we can do this too. We're reaching people too, and
Yeah.
so I love the concepts and the marketing that they were doing, but we weren't doing it on our side. So I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
take some of that from them, and that's
Yeah.
what we did, man. But yeah, people thought I was dropping it EP, but they didn't know it was really a full album. I just broke it
Yeah.
up.
All right, man.
Yeah.
So going from that to Church Girls Love R&B,
Uh-huh.
what made you say, okay, let me stop busting around and get back to
Yeah.
these melodies
Yeah.
and vocals?
Yeah. Well, the playlist, man, we're in the playlist world.
Yeah.
I can remember, just spending time with my wife and even just spending time with our peers at the time. When we get together, we open up Spotify on Apple TV, and we just let
Yeah.
a cool chill vibe playlist play as the background or the
Yeah.
soundtrack to you, just us hanging out. And at that time, I also loved that feeling, of
Yeah.
course. But I go all the way back to the 52 weeks of summer concept, to where
Yeah.
we were all hanging out, and it's just like, man, where is that for us?
Yeah.
And also, uh, at that time, God had really given me a heart for Christian females, you know, as far as just the conversations I would have with our peers getting together, like the dating life
Yeah.
or the heart.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's cool.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
Yeah,
right.
but like everything that Christians go through is when it comes to heartbreak, you know, we don't really talk about that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we don't talk about women dating a guy and their heart is broken, or maybe even made a mistake with him and it's over. And
Yeah.
you know, we do a lot of talking in church about, you know, getting together and finding
Yeah.
that good thing and doing that. We also don't even talk about divorce. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
told somebody like, we have the marriage conferences, but where's the divorce conference? You know, yeah, let's
That's
help the people that
blasphemous,
just,
Jordan. People be
man.
like, that's blasphemous. A
No, you
divorce
go there
conference?
if you're divorced, that's where you need to
Yeah.
go because you need some guidance. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of
Yeah.
times
That's
we
real.
tell you how to get it, but we don't tell you what to do when it goes left.
Yeah. Or
You know what I'm
sustaining
saying?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or to keep it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
what do? I've been divorced for 4 years, so I'm still lost. I need some
Yeah.
help. I want to
Yeah.
go to that conference. Now, mind
Yeah.
you, we don't have to have a divorce conference. That's
Yeah.
it's just a, I'm just saying, you know, we don't speak on it. You know, once you're divorced, they're just like, okay, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so it's just it. You know, we feel sorry for you and we hope you figure it out. But we don't talk about those things
Yeah.
in our community as much as we
Yeah.
do as finding it, you
Yeah.
know. And so I always knew that I wanted to speak on that, and God had really given me a heart for it. But I knew if I did it, it was going to have to sound like R&B. Just from my experience, you know, when people are usually going through heartbreak, or even females for sure, when they're going through heartbreak, I mean, they run to R&B music because R&B music is talking about the heartbreak they're going through. It's
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
talking about it. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, some of the songs is bad, some of them are okay. You know, some
Yeah.
songs they crying, some songs they saying they're gonna bust the windows out your car. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That
Yeah.
ain't, we don't want you to do that. You know, that's not the answer. Now
Yeah.
that feel good at the moment. Yeah, you like, yeah, I do. But you know, where's the positivity? Where's the word? Because you
Yeah.
know, we have
Yeah.
to run to that too. And so, you know, I wanted to do a project that spoke to the church girls. You know,
Yeah.
really, I did. I wanted to talk to them and tell them how to, from my experience, from a male's point of view, how they could, how, first of all, we're sorry for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, I'm speaking from a male's point of view. I'm sure I've broken some hearts as
Yeah.
myself, you know. And so just to have the women's back, you know, Christian
Yeah.
girls back, you know what I mean? We don't
Yeah.
speak a lot about, you know, them dealing with that. So
Yeah.
I wanted to do it with the sound of R&B. So this is also my chance to really get all of my R&B feels that I've
Yeah.
always wanted to do. You
Yeah.
know, this time I didn't have to think about the radio. I didn't have to think about anything. I could really
Yeah.
just make the music and from my heart. And Church Girls Love R&B was just that, man. And if I didn't know if it went over well, I definitely found out when we went on tour with it. And
Really?
that was my
Wow.
first tour as a headliner, like my own personal tour. I've been tours
Yeah.
before, but that was my first tour on my own. And I was grateful for that because it was so many women that were showing up at this tour. Like we sold out every date, I think, except for New York.
Okay.
So people were there, man. I mean, and the women were coming up and telling me how it blessed them, and you know, they were crying, and people were giving their testimonies of how they've been divorced or how they never got over a heartbreak from a guy
Yeah.
that they dated in high school, and they're still dealing with this stuff as an adult.
Wow.
Like it was just so many great
Wow.
things, and it was just
Wow.
confirmation that Church Girls Love R&B was literally sent from God, man.
Yeah.
Because even to this day, it's probably my most second top streaming album. I mean, it's played today like it's brand new. So
Wow.
I'm grateful that God gave me that, but I'm
Yeah.
also grateful that it's really helping people,
Yeah.
and you know, really sparking a conversation on heartbreak as a Christian. We go through it too,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Did,
Yeah.
did that get you on R&B stations officially?
Oh,
Like, oh
man,
wow.
for sure. I also collabed with a few of my R&B friends, you know,
Yeah.
which really helped it get to R&B radio as well. And I thought that that was awesome. If I ever wanted to be on R&B radio, that's the way I wanted to be on it.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
yes,
You
man.
didn't want the inspiration of the day song. You were like, put me on radio rotation.
That's cool, but they do it on Sunday. Sunday R&B station might play Mary Mary or
Yeah.
or Kirk, but
Yeah.
I wanted to be. I try to make music for every day of the week, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
occasion.
Yeah.
Where's the Christian music for when it's girls' night?
Yeah.
Where's that? They have it.
Yeah.
Christian
Yeah.
girls have girls' night. Where's the
Yeah.
soundtrack for that? Where's the soundtrack for when I just won the championship with my guys? Or
Yeah.
where's the soundtrack for when it's guys' night? Where's the
Yeah.
soundtrack for when it's date night?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we don't have that. So,
Yeah.
I want to create the soundtrack for those moments.
Yeah.
And that's where I really flourish, and that's what God has really anointed me to be, because
Got you.
I do just that.
Got you. Now we are coming to revival. And
Yeah.
I've been blessed enough to see behind the scenes of the videos and
Yeah,
the
yeah. Oh yeah,
photos
you in
and
there.
stuff.
You in there, boy.
Thank y'all for that opportunity.
No, thank you.
Kind of give us what could people look forward to with revival and in the light and everything,
Yeah.
man.
Well, revival, which is just not even just a name, it's just really a movement that I'm on right now.
Yeah.
Um, and last year I had a really tough year, 2024,
Wow.
and I needed a revival, man. I needed a restart. I needed a refresh.
Yeah.
Last year when I was creating these songs, um, I didn't go in it thinking about radio. I didn't go in and think about playlisting. I didn't go in and thinking about any of the business.
Yeah.
I actually needed a revival. So I was literally coming into the studio asking God to minister to me. Like,
Wow.
God, give me a
Wow.
song that's going to bless me, not me
Wow.
bless someone else.
Yeah.
I need it. Like, I need you. So I would come in here and start working. And I literally throughout working on these songs, I'm saying, God, give me what you want to say. Like,
Yeah.
speak to me. And
Yeah.
literally, oh my God, I'm sorry. That's why you said no phones, right? but nah, but nah, literally every single song that came out of this was from him. And I
Got
know that
you.
that may even sound crazy, like, of course, Jay, every song should be,
Yeah.
but this one was literally him speaking to me. These records still speak to me. And
Wow.
I know they're going to speak to others, but this is literally God speaking to me. I'm listening back at the songs sometimes that aren't out, and I'm just like, oh my God, thank you, God,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
still speaking to me, And
Yeah.
so I know for a fact it's going to bless others, man. And like I said, this is the first time in a long time I wasn't thinking about business or
Yeah.
anything. A lot of times, it's sad to say, or it may even sound bad, but sometimes I didn't put God first making some songs.
Wow.
Some songs
Wow.
God was number two. Sometimes I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool, this is dope, that's fly, and then I create it, and then I say, here, God, bless it.
Wow.
Yeah, like God,
Yeah.
then now God, turn it up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so sometimes, that was where my mind was. And this
Yeah.
time I'm back to that phase, or that feeling of, God, do your thing no matter what. I don't
Yeah.
care if it ever plays on radio. I don't care if it makes a playlist. I don't care. I need this to minister to me. And if it ministers to me, I believe it's going to minister to others. And so
Yeah.
putting God first, like absolutely first. We all say we put God first, but a lot of times we're making decisions all day long without even asking
Yeah.
Him. we
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
we say that all the time. We're like, oh, God first, then family, then blah blah. No, we be having God number 4, 5, 6 sometimes.
Yeah.
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 It's just something that we
Yeah.
say. And so
Yeah.
sometimes we're making our own decisions and just begging God to bless it and anoint it. But if it came from
Yeah.
Him out the gate, if it came from Him first, of course it's going to be blessed, and it's going to have
Got
favor, and
you. Got you.
it's going to be amazing. So anyway, that's what I did, man. And
Okay.
the first record is The Light, which is an important song to me because I was in such a dark place last year, and
Wow.
God was absolutely my light. And it's crazy because even after I got better and things started to turn around for me, He started to reveal to me that I'm a light. And somehow
Yeah.
I lost that and I forgot. that I'm a light as well. And just even talking to you and going through the history of all of this is
Wow.
just really confirmation too, man, of how much of a light I am that God has
Yeah.
given me that I have to let shine. Sometimes I can get in the way of it and dim that light. So I have to make sure that my relationship with him is where it needs to be, to where I can continue to be a light and continue to help change the world with the gospel music and the Christian message that he's given me. So
Yeah.
the light is special, man.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
is.
already doing amazing. I'm grateful,
Yeah.
man.
And sometimes, honestly, sometimes when you put God first and say, God, I don't care, just
Yeah,
use
yeah,
me,
yep,
God just do stuff that you'd be like,
yeah,
oh, snap. I
yes.
gotta put him first more often.
Bro, come on. That same thing happened to me for My God, the record My God, which is my biggest record,
Okay.
period. I did that same thing. I was telling somebody the other day that, I was inspired because at the time, even secular or hip hop artists was talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was just like, man, like I've known God all of my life and I don't talk about Jesus in that way.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been such an artist that has been trying to break through to people that don't listen to gospel music. So I'm not always beating them over the head with Jesus, Jesus, this, God, that, Jesus,
Yeah.
that. I really try to bait them into what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. And so the fact that that R&B and hip hop people was just coming out the gate saying Jesus this and God that, I'm like, man, I should be more bold too.
Yeah.
I've known God all my life. They just met God. It's like you've been knowing me all this time and you can't even say my name and you're saying it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that changed it for me. And that's when I realized, that I was just like, God, well, listen, I'm going to put you all in the hook everywhere. And I was like, we're going to see what happened. And he said, if you say my name, I'm going to take you to places where you've never been. And that's
Wow.
absolutely what he did. And I mean, we literally rose to number one with that record in no time. And probably, I
Wow.
think that record was number one for 3 weeks in the country, and so that was the confirmation, like, okay, yeah, it's time up for that. You need to say God needs to be known out the gate.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
to
That's
let the light
awesome.
shine through your music every single time. And here we are.
Yeah.
Now you hear, shine your light on me. Shine it so that I'm like, here you go, God. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. And he really put his hands on the music ever since I've done that, man. So
Got you.
yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much, bro. This was
Yes.
fun. I normally have a
Yeah,
this
man.
or that. Do you have time for this or that? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
let's do it.
very
Let's do it.
okay,
Let's do
okay.
it.
Real quick.
I got about 6 minutes.
Okay. It won't take that long. All right.
Okay.
So this is Jor'Dan Armstrong this or that edition. All right, here we
Let's
go.
go.
Perkins Road or Scenic Highway?
Oh wow. Scenic Highway.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
crazy. What do you know? What Perkins Road or Scenic Highway? Yes, Scenic Highway is a little more hood. Perkins has gotten really bougie now. They got a nice mall. They got coffee shops and stuff. But Scenic Highway is it feels like old Baton Rouge, and there's a lot of good fried chicken and catfish and all kind of good food over there. And also you can just blow your horn at people sitting on the side of the road and they're gonna wave back at you.
Okay. Zydeco or bounce music?
Okay. Oh, Zydeco.
Zydeco, I'm sorry.
Zydeco. I'm gonna go with bounce music, man.
Okay.
Bounce music inspired a lot, and bounce music is still relevant to this day. There wouldn't be any Hot Boys or Cash Money or anything if it weren't for
Yeah.
bounce music. It wouldn't be no Jor'Dan Armstrong if it weren't for bounce music. To be honest with you, so yeah, bounce music for
Got
sure.
you. Okay. Third Street or the Riverfront?
Riverfront. I had my first kiss on the riverfront right there. Yeah, yeah. Got my first kiss on the riverfront. So shout out to the riverfront, man. I think the girl, and I don't even know if it was a real kiss or not, but she was cold because the wind was blowing, the water was blowing, and she got close, and I just put my lip on her. So if anything, if anything, that's where I got my first kiss, man. So shout out to the riverfront for sure.
Got you. All right. Jodeci or Boys to Men?
Oh man, Jodeci.
Jodeci.
Jodeci. Boyz II Men was very talented for sure, and it still is. Like the harmonies and they was just
Yeah.
a little too soft. Jodeci was, yeah, man. Jodeci was like, they was like gangster with the R&B. And
Got you.
also, Casey and JoJo are church boys, and I could
Yeah,
always hear the church in them. It just reminded me of my upbringing. So yeah,
got
Jodeci for
you.
sure.
The saying Wardy or
Uh-huh.
baby?
Oh, Wody.
Wardy.
Yeah, so Wody or baby. I'm gonna say Wody. Cause first of all, baby, everybody says baby now because they just know that's like the ultimate
Yeah,
Louisiana thing to say. Wody means like you really must be from there. If you saying
got you.
Wody, you gotta be from Louisiana.
Got you.
Yes, sir.
No limit or cash
Uh-oh.
money?
Ah, I'm gonna have to go with No Limit
Okay.
because No Limit, they really changed the game. I remember
Yeah.
being in school, middle school, and at that time, all my friends was passing around the CDs. I just loved the fact that they were just killing it. They were dropping
Yeah.
albums like every week or every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you would know what's coming because in the back of the CD you bought was everybody else that's about to come out and their date.
Yeah.
So you're looking forward. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, Silk the Shock is about to drop next Wednesday. And so it was just the excitement of that, man.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think there would be cash money without No Limit.
Got
So
you.
yeah, man. So yeah, No Limit Records. Shout out to Master P. And also them guys, they all lived in Baton Rouge. So growing up, I was able to see them just randomly at the
Wow.
mall and
Yeah.
at a restaurant here or there, man. So it was cool, man. That was actually inspiring to see them. They were driving Bentleys and stuff in the city. Nobody had Bentleys in our city, so we knew it was them. So they inspired me to really go after it. So yeah, No Limit
Got you.
Records, man.
All right, my God or you?
Oh my God, my God. You is cool, and I can say
Okay.
that it's my song.
Yeah.
You is cool, but you was really me trying to keep up with my God, man. You
Got you.
know,
Got you.
my
Okay.
God is still such a great record for me, of course, but it's also still a song that I think that everyone, if you ever heard of me, a lot of people found out who I was from that record. So,
Got
and that
you.
record changed my life, man. I made it to top of Billboard. So
Wow. That's
yeah.
amazing. Posse cut. About that or I'm down?
I'm gonna have to go with I'm gonna go with about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I switched it at the last minute. I'm down was cool because I actually called everybody that's on that song and they just
Yeah.
sent in their vocals,
Wow.
which was cool. So shout out to D1, Ken Jones, and Jay. These were people that I thought was really dope, and
Yeah.
I didn't even think they would do it, and everybody said yes, which was really cool
Wow.
to me. The biggest at that time was Ken Jones, and I was just like,
Yeah.
wow, Ken got on a song that I asked him to get on, and he killed it.
Yeah.
But about that was different. I think that everybody just had their swag. Everybody was just the way everybody performed over the beat.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Izzy at the time. This guy,
Yeah.
we were really excited about him, and we had high hopes for him because he was so talented. He was better than all of us. He was just so
Yeah.
good, at what he was doing. And so I literally just let him at the end of the song rap his face off, and he did, bro. He killed it. To
Wow.
this day, people still ask me, "What's up? Where's the Izzy guy? Where's Izzy? Izzy?" And I honestly, I don't even know. But I don't know where he is, man. But shout out
Yeah.
to him if you watch this or hear this, bro. I love you, man. Miss you, man. But he was going to be a problem. So
Yeah.
I love that song because everybody really executed. Reese killed it, Adrian killed it, I did it. Like it was just a
Yeah.
good, fun record, and we were all in the studio at the same time. We were all running in the booth, running out the booth. It was like, oh, I could say this, and then it's like, oh, I could say that, and we just run in and do it right on the spot. So that was really fun, and
Wow.
it showed on the record. It was a fire song. So yeah,
Got
about
you.
that.
Okay. Two more, and I'm gonna let you go.
Okay,
If
all
you
right.
if you had to re-release an album between Champion or Stronger, which one would you re-release to your new fan base that now know about Jor'Dan Armstrong?
It'd be stronger. Stronger,
Really?
man.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of those records on because I've also took a stab at re-releasing some of it.
Got you. Got you.
But some of those records on Champion, I don't even have anything. I don't have the files. I don't have
Oh,
anything.
wow.
You
Wow.
know, that
Wow.
was
Yeah.
so early, man. We were doing stuff, and once it came out, we didn't have it anymore.
Got you.
So just ignorance, but also Stronger. I just felt it's a stronger project.
Got you.
It's a little bit more well-rounded, and I felt a little bit more in my bag at that time.
Got you.
Champion, I was experimenting, and I was a kid. You know, I was
Got
just
you.
having fun. Some of that you could hear the youthfulness on it.
Got you. Got you. My last question, and I always
All
end
right.
with this one. Are you a Christian R&B singer or an
Uh-huh.
R&B singer who is Christian?
Oh man, definitely a Christian R&B singer. Yeah, man. To be honest with you, you know, I never wanted to do any thing else. I never
Got you.
wanted to sing R&B music. Uh, just wasn't my thing. But also, you know, I didn't want to let down my family.
Got
I
you.
come down.
Got
I
you.
come from a long line of ministers and pastors and evangelists and you know, people that really have the foundation of Jesus. And, you know, I would never want to taint that with that. I know what my calling was, and my calling was always to, you know, spread the love of Jesus Christ through my music. And so it
Yeah.
just so happened to sound like R&B.
Got
It
you.
just so happened, you know. So yeah, Christian R&B artist through and through. And thank God we finally got a name for it. You know, back
Yeah.
then, like I said, I didn't know what it was called, you know. But
Urban
Christian
gospel,
R, that's it. Yeah. So Christian
rhythm and
R&B is it,
praise.
man. Pray for
Yeah.
us because we're trying to really make this a category, not just we're trying to make it a genre, but a
Yeah.
category. We want it to be noticed in awards. We want it to be noticed across the
Yeah.
world, man. So
Yeah.
be praying for us, man. This is something really special. I remember when neo soul had become a thing, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
all the things
Yeah.
that we had to do to make that become something. So this is the
Yeah.
same space we're in now. So shout out to all the Christian R&B artists, man. I
Yeah,
love what
man.
everybody doing. It's so
Yeah.
many talented people, dog. It's like, man, these young cats is fire. So shout out to everybody, man. It makes
Yeah.
my heart smile because this is what I saw 20, 15 years ago. This is what I
Wow.
saw. And I'm so honored that I'm still able to do it. And I also get to see young people literally wake up today and say they want to be a Christian R&B artist and drop an album and boom.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that easy in the beginning. I'm grateful for where we are now. So, man, thanks, man. Thank you,
Thank
brother.
you, brother. Thank you, man. Man, give everybody your socials, how they
For
can reach
sure.
out to you and
For
everything,
sure.
man.
Where's Jor'Dan? That's WHERESJOR_DAN. That's how you can find me everywhere. And if you would love to have me come to your city or come and see you, you can go to jordanarmstrongmusic.com and hit the booking tab or just say hello to your boy. Holla at me.
All right, man. Thanks you,
All
Jordan,
right.
so much, man. I
All
appreciate
right.
this. We are
Yes,
out.
sir. Yes, sir.
Trent.
Love, man. Always good
Yeah,
speaking with
man.
you.
Yes, sir.
All
Kingdom
right.
Ox everywhere. We
All right.
out.
Peace.